Hello, my name is Hannah Shepard. I'm in Learning Frameworks this semester, and this is a presentation over learning, cognition, and motivation. So first we're just going to start out with defining each of these terms and talking about some examples. Okay, so learning is the acquisition of new information or a new skill. It can occur consciously or unconsciously. It can occur in formal or informal settings, formal being like school or college. Informal would be conversations or just situations in everyday life. And it often occurs through trial and error. So some examples of different types of learners. Visual learners typically learn by seeing or observing things. So pictures, diagrams, graphs, written directions tend to be really helpful for these types of learners. Kinesthetic learners or tactile learners, they learn through experiencing or doing things. So they may be a little more active in nature. So activities that are more about moving around may be more helpful for them. Or actually like doing tasks can be helpful as well. And then an example of learning would be like reading a textbook to obtain information from a class or going to lecture, that kind of thing. Cognition is the mental processes necessary for learning. So this includes things like thinking, remembering, perception, judgment, attention, language, evaluation, reasoning. So an example of that would be like actively memorizing information that you've learned from your book or from lecture, or doing activities to remember those things. So like acronyms or that kind of thing are all good examples of using those cognitive skills. Motivation is the drive, desire, or willingness of somebody to do something. So this is affected by a few different things. Self-efficacy is a belief in your ability to carry out actions or to reach a particular goal that you've set. Relevance is a belief that achieving your goal will make a positive difference. So basically believing that what you're doing is worthwhile and that you're working towards a worthwhile goal. And then positive attitude is a positive way of thinking about something that focuses on growth and positive self-talk. And there's two types of motivation. There's external and internal, or extrinsic and intrinsic. So external motivation comes from forces outside of ourselves, and internal comes from within us. So an example of that would be working a job for the money versus working a job because it's a passion that you have or it's something that you're passionate about. So obviously working for money would be an external motivation. Working the job because you're passionate about it or it's something that you love to do would be an internal or intrinsic motivation. So how are they related? Learning, cognition, and motivation all work together to create a successful learning process. So I think of this as motivation kind of being the starting point, because if you're not motivated to learn, you won't. So I kind of think of that as being the starting point of establishing what your goals are and why you're learning, choosing to learn something. And then once you've set that and you know why you're doing something, you have, you begin to learn. So that includes, going to class and participating in lecture, reading your book, those types of things. And then cognition comes in with the kind of actively learning and doing different activities like memorizing or acronyms when you're studying. Those types of things are good examples of using your cognitive skills. So the biological process of learning, so it is a physical process. Basically, new brain cell connections are being formed, which leads to knowledge being obtained. So the formation and connection of these brain cells is facilitated by growth factors in the brain. There are some learning difficulties that can occur in some people, and examples would be ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. That's becoming a lot more common in children nowadays. Dyslexia, which is basically a learning difference but not a disability, but it is a neurological disorder that causes issues with word recognition, poor spelling, decoding abilities. It can also cause problems with reading comprehension and vocabulary issues. And if you have a brain injury or traumatic brain injury, that could also cause difficulty in learning. Psychological process, motivation plays an important role in the psychology of learning. So incentives have proven to have a positive effect on people's learning performance. So incentives could be physical, like money or rewards, or it could be encouragement, support, status, those types of things. Some psychological disorders can have a negative effect on learning performance. That includes like stress, anxiety, depression. These are pretty commonly seen in students, especially just from the stress of school and anxiety about performance in school. And some good ways to counteract those things would be to be sure that you're getting an adequate amount of sleep and physical activity, to be sure that you're maintaining your mental health, and just that you have that support system as well can also be really important in counteracting some of these disorders. And that is it. My name is Hannah Shepard again, and thank you for listening.